Hey everybody, my name is Katie and I work at Lightdash, and today I'm going to be talking you through creating your first metrics and dimensions in your Lightdash project. So by the end of this tutorial, you should be able to talk about metrics and dimensions like you've known them your whole life, and add some dimensions and metrics to your own Lightdash project. So let's get started. Now, we know that it's really exciting to get a new shiny Lightdash project set up. But before you can actually start exploring or visualizing anything in your Lightdash project, you need to take some time adding dimensions and metrics to your project. Now, metrics and dimensions are defined in your DBT project alongside the rest of your DBT model properties. So all of your business logic sits in one place, and these get defined right in your schema YAML files beside the rest of your model properties. Dimensions are used to segment the data in your models. These are the attributes of our models. So think things like city or date, or in this color cube example, color. Now, metrics, on the other hand, are used to perform calculations or aggregations on our data models. So things like total revenue or percent of weekly active users, or again, in this color cube example, the total cubes. Now, we've talked a bit about dimensions and metrics, but actually let's see an example of these in action together. So let's say that we're running an e-commerce business. We probably have a table containing something to do with order data. It probably has something to do with Jaffles. And we might want to ask the question, what is the total order count split by status? Now, in this question, the total order count is the aggregation or calculation that we're performing. We're counting the total number of orders. And the status is the attribute that we're segmenting or grouping our data by. So this is our dimension, and total order count is our metric. Now, this question can be answered using a single metric, the total number of unique orders, and a single dimension for splitting the metric by, the status of the order. So in Lightdash, we'd end up with a chart that looks something like this. Beautiful, I know. Okay, so it's all well and good to have the theory of all of this, but now that we actually know what dimensions metrics are, how do we add them into our Lightdash project? So to start off, you actually have to add a dimension to your Lightdash project first. Now, dimensions are created automatically when you define columns in your DBT model properties. So to define these columns, you need to have a YAML file either at the model level or the directory level for your DBT project. So I've gone ahead and created an example DBT project, or copied one, and I've defined some columns. So this is my orders model. And then I have columns like order ID is completed. So Lightdash automatically pulls these columns in as dimensions in your Lightdash project. The name of the dimensions are pulled from the column name, and the type is pulled from the column in your database. So once you have some dimensions in your project, then you can add metrics. Now, metrics are also defined in your DBT project alongside the rest of your DBT model properties. And if dimensions segment your group of data, then metrics calculate these interesting statistics for these groups. So let's say we wanted to group our data by our dimension status. We'd probably want to count the number of order IDs because that's something that we'd probably want to group by. So I've started actually writing a metric tag here. So the way that we're going to count the total orders is by adding this metrics calculation to our order ID. So using this meta keyword, then I add metrics. The total order count is the name of my metric. And then I just have to add the type. There's a bunch of different types you can use for your metrics, and these are all defined in our docs, so you can check them out there. I'm going to use the type count distinct, which is counting the unique number of my dimension here, which is order ID. And Lightdash automatically pulls in descriptions, and you can also add things like custom descriptions or custom SQL, and all of this is included in our docs. Okay, so we have a dimension, we have a metric. Now we actually need to add this to our Lightdash project. So the way that we do this is I'm working off of a GitHub connected project. So I'm just going to add these changes and then push directly to my main branch. So I'm going to add, let's just check, cool. Add metrics. going a bit rogue here. Don't try this at home, pushing to main. Okay, cool. So it pushed to main. I have my GitHub project open here. And we can see, cool, 18 seconds ago it got updated. So now that we've pushed all of our changes to the branch that I've connected to my Lightdash project, I'm going to go ahead to my Lightdash project and actually update the changes. So you can see here that we have all of the tables are just the models that have schema files in our Lightdash DBT project. So if I click on the model that we were working on before, orders, I can see that the metric, the total order count, isn't included in our metrics list. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh DBT and pull the changes that I made from GitHub. Cool, so our newest metric appeared in our Lightdash project. Awesome. And yeah, that's how you kind of pull new metrics and dimensions into your project. But just to complete our example, I'm gonna go through the question that we originally asked, which was, what is the total order count split by status? So here I'm gonna click on my status dimension, then I'm gonna click on my total order count metric, run my query, and voila. Beautiful. Yeah, don't worry too much about how these explorers work for now. We're going to cover that in another tutorial, but this is really just to show you how to add metrics and dimensions to your project. So we now know how to talk about metrics and dimensions like you've known them your whole life. Don't worry, you're bound to be everyone's favorite at a pub if you start whipping out your newly learned lingo. And we know that metrics and dimensions are defined in our DBT project within our DBT model properties. So just to remind you, dimensions are used to segment data in our models, and metrics are used to perform calculations on our data models. So these are normally aggregations. We also know how to add dimensions and metrics to our own Lightdash projects. So make sure to check out docs at docs.lightdash.com and submit any issues that you might be having to our GitHub repo, and let us know if you have any questions. But we hope that this was helpful for getting you started with Lightdash and you're comfortable now setting up your own metrics and dimensions. Thanks so much.